The galactic central station hung like a massive silver snowflake against the backdrop of swirling purple nebulas. Inside, Chief Security Officer Reed of the station's safety division stared at his monitoring screens with all four of his eyes widening in disbelief. "Sir, the new human delegation's ship is requesting docking permission," his assistant Officer Blue reported, his antenna twitching nervously. Reed clicked his mandibles together. The humans were a new species that had just achieved faster-than-light travel. This would be their first official visit to the Galactic Council's headquarters. Everything had to go perfectly. "Grant them access to Docking Bay 7, Reed ordered. "And make sure all our first contact protocols are in place." The human ship, a sleek vessel named Earth's Hope, smoothly glided into the docking bay. Reed watched through the security feeds as the airlock cycled, and the first human delegation prepared to enter the station. His sensors ran standard atmospheric and biological scans, a routine procedure for all new arrivals. Suddenly, every alarm in the security center began blaring at once. AL-ERT. Alert. Class A toxins detected. Multiple sources. Deadly stimulants present in biological entities. Reed jumped from his chair. What in the seven moons is happening? The screen showed the human delegation calmly walking through the airlock. Each of them held a strange container, and they were all consuming something. The biological scans were going crazy, showing dangerous levels of a powerful stimulant present in their bloodstreams. "Everyone out. Evacuate the whole sector." Reed shouted into the station-wide communication system. Unknown chemical weapon detected in Docking Bay 7. The station erupted into chaos. Alien diplomats and staff members ran in all directions, some shifting colors in panic, others extending their protective membranes. Security barriers slammed down, isolating the docking bay area. Inside the sealed zone, Ambassador Tom Walker of Earth looked around in confusion as he sipped his morning coffee. "Did we do something wrong?" he asked his team, who were equally puzzled, all holding their own coffee cups. The station's quarantine team arrived in full protective gear, led by Dr. Green, the chief medical officer. Through the transparent barriers, she watched in horror as the humans continued to casually drink the dark liquid that was making her sensors scream in warning. "Humans," she called through the communication system, "you are consuming a highly dangerous neurotoxic substance. Please cease immediately and allow us to begin emergency detox procedures." Ambassador Walker looked at his coffee cup, then back at the alien medical team. "Oh," he said, finally understanding. No, this is just coffee. It's how we start our day back on Earth." Dead silence fell over the station's security channel. "You intentionally consumed this substance?" Dr. Green asked, her voice shaking. "Well, yes," Walker replied. "Most of us have 2 or 3 cups before noon. Helps us wake up." The medical team's instruments showed that every human present had blood levels of caffeine that would be lethal to most known species. Yet they were all standing there, smiling, completely fine. 2 or 3 cups before noon," Reed whispered, his exoskeleton pale with shock. He turned to his assistant. "Update the human threat assessment immediately." Dr. Green was frantically reviewing the biological scans. Their bodies, they've adapted to process this toxin. They've turned a deadly poison into a morning beverage. The news spread through the station like wildfire. Humans, the new species that had just joined galactic society, started each day by drinking a substance that could kill most other sentient beings. They didn't just survive it, they enjoyed it. As the quarantine team cautiously approached for more detailed scans, Ambassador Walker took another sip of his coffee. "Anyone want to try some?" he offered kindly. Several alien observers fainted. That day, humanity's reputation in the galaxy was cemented not by their technology, their diplomacy, or their military might, but by their casual consumption of what would soon be classified as one of the most dangerous substances in known space. And it wasn't even lunchtime yet. The Galactic Council's medical bay buzzed with activity as Dr. Green and her team pored over the results of their tests. Holograms showing human biology floated in the air, highlighting the unique way their bodies processed caffeine. "This is impossible," muttered Dr. Green, her scales shifting to a pale blue color of confusion. "Their entire civilization runs on this substance. Look at these historical records they provided." The screen showed images from Earth, coffee shops on every street corner, energy drink advertisements, coffee makers in every home and office. One image showed a line of humans waiting outside a coffee shop before sunrise. Ambassador Walker sat patiently on an examination table, still holding his now empty coffee cup. "I'm telling you, it's really not a big deal. We've been drinking coffee for thousands of years." "Thousands of years," squeaked a young medical assistant, dropping his data pad. Dr. Green pulled up more data. According to Earth's biological records, the coffee plant actually evolved this chemical as an insecticide. It was meant to be toxic, to kill or paralyze small creatures that try to eat it. And your species just decided to drink it? Asked Reed, who had joined the medical team to assess the security implications. "Well, according to legend, some goats ate the coffee berries first and started acting energetic. A shepherd noticed and decided to try it himself," Walker explained, as if this was perfectly reasonable. The aliens in the room stared at him in horror. First, their ancestors discovered a poisonous plant. Then, they watched animals eat it and get hyper. And their response was to think, "Yes, I should consume this." "But why continue drinking it?" Dr. Green asked, genuinely puzzled. "It helps us focus, keeps us alert," Walker said. He glanced at his watch. "Speaking of which, is there any chance I could get another cup? It's almost time for my mid-morning coffee break." Several alarm sensors started beeping again. "You mean you consume more?" Reed's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in sequence, "even after your body shows signs of having this toxic substance?" "Oh, sure," Walker nodded. "Most of us have multiple cups throughout the day. Some people even drink it at night." Dr. Green rapidly typed notes into her medical database. "The implications are staggering. Humans have not only developed an immunity to a powerful neurotoxin, but they've also integrated it into their daily routine to enhance their cognitive functions." The medical bay's door slid open, and Walker's assistant Jack walked in, carrying 2 steaming cups. "Brought you your usual, sir," he said, handing one to the ambassador. The medical sensors immediately began screaming again. The same poison concentration. Again. Reed watched in fascination as both humans casually sipped their drinks. "How are you not dead? You know what's really going to blow your minds," Jack said with a grin. "This is actually Daycoff. The real stuff is much stronger." A thud echoed through the room as one of the medical assistants fainted. Dr. Green's color shifted to deep purple, the equivalent of a human going pale. "There's a stronger version." "Oh yeah," Walker nodded. "This is just the mild stuff. Wait until you hear about espresso, or energy drinks, or these things called death wish coffee that some people drink." Reed immediately began updating the human threat assessment for the second time that day. Any species that casually consumed increasing amounts of poison for pleasure needed to be carefully monitored. "I think," Dr. Green said slowly, "we need to convene an emergency session of the Galactic Medical Board. This changes everything we thought we knew about xenobiology." As the aliens rushed to update their scientific databases and security protocols, Walker and Jack finished their coffee, completely unaware that they had just caused a fundamental shift in how the galaxy viewed humanity. "Nice coffee," Walker said to Jack. "Want to grab another cup after this?" The medical bay's alarms hadn't stopped ringing since they arrived, and they wouldn't stop for a very long time to come. 3 days after the coffee incident, Ambassador Walker had finally convinced the Galactic Council to open a small coffee shop in the diplomatic sector of the station. The Council had agreed only after installing triple-layered containment fields and hazard warning signs in 17 different languages. Officer Max, one of the station's most respected security officers from the Cablaxian species, watched the humans through the containment field. His curiosity had been growing each day as he observed them performing their coffee ritual. "I don't understand," Max said to Walker, his crystalline body shimmering with interest. "You say this drink brings you pleasure." Walker nodded, sipping his morning brew. "Want to try some? We've diluted this batch to 1/10th strength. Should be safe for your species, according to Dr. Green's tests." Max's crystalline structure pulsed with excitement. He had volunteered to be the first non-human to officially test coffee in controlled conditions. The medical bay was on high alert, and Dr. Green stood ready with emergency detox equipment. "I'm ready," Max declared bravely. "For science and cultural understanding." Walker carefully passed a tiny cup through the containment field's safety slot. The liquid inside was mostly water, with just a hint of coffee. Max's crystal hands trembled as he took the cup. "Just take a small sip," Dr. Green advised, monitoring his vital signs. Max raised the cup to his absorption membrane and took the tiniest possible taste. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Max's entire crystalline body began to glow with a bright blue light. "Oh my!" he exclaimed, his voice vibrating at a higher pitch than usual. This is amazing." He downed the rest of the cup in one gulp. "Max!" "No," Dr. Green shouted, but it was too late. The effects were immediate and dramatic. Max's crystalline body began pulsing with rainbow colors, and he started zooming around the room at unprecedented speeds, bouncing off the walls like a pinball. "I can taste sound," Max shouted, zipping past the startled humans. "I can see time. Why the identity anyone in TL me XXISTNC could be THIS beautiful." Walker watched in horror as the usually dignified security officer began attempting to calculate the meaning of life on the walls using his own glowing body as a marker. "Is this normal?" Walker asked Dr. Green. "Normal," she replied, frantically trying to catch Max with a containment field. "He's experiencing the equivalent of drinking 50 of your Earth espressos at once." Max had now started trying to teach quantum physics to a potted plant, while singing what he claimed was the universal song of creation in 5 different frequencies simultaneously. "The plants unnd many," he shouted joyfully. "We are all one with the chaos and IKFAN." It took 3 hours, 7 security officers, and 1 very confused therapy bot to finally calm Max down. When the caffeine finally wore off, he was found curled up in the corner, gently rocking back and forth and muttering equations. "Well," Walker said to his assistant Jack, watching as Max was carried to the medical bay, "I guess we should add no Cablaxian customers to the coffee shop's door." The incident made headlines across the galaxy. Security officer discovers the power of human battle drink. Local Cablaxian achieves enlightenment through toxic earth beverage. And cultural exchange gone wrong. A cautionary tale. Max was given 3 weeks of paid leave to recover, during which he wrote 3 books about his experience, including My Journey to the Coffee Dimension and What the Humans Drink, A Survivor's Tale. The coffee shop added a large warning sign, "For human consumption only." Non-human species must provide signed waivers and undergo medical screening before sampling. Cablaxians strictly prohibited. Despite the warning, or perhaps because of it, the line of curious aliens wanting to try the legendary human drink grew longer each day. Each one hoped they might handle it better than Max. They were all wrong. Walker just shook his head and ordered another cup. Some things in the universe, he realized, were meant for humans alone. General Cax, the Galactic Council's chief of defense, stood rigidly in front of the Emergency Military Committee. His tentacles were coiled tightly, a sign of extreme stress among his species. "Fellow council members," he began, "we must reassess humanity's military threat level immediately." He waved one tentacle, and a hologram appeared showing human soldiers in combat training. The room fell silent as the footage played. Human troops running combat drills while consuming something called military energy rations, concentrated caffeine tablets and energy drinks that made regular coffee look like water. Our initial scans show these combat stimulants are 5 times stronger than their civilian beverages, General Cax continued. And they consume these while carrying heavy weapons and explosives. Admiral Pike, a veteran of 3 galactic conflicts, raised her wing in concern. Are you suggesting the humans have weaponized this toxin? Even worse, General Cax replied. They've turned it into candy. He displayed images of chocolate-covered espresso beans and caffeine-infused protein bars. They give these to their young. The military committee erupted in shocked whistles and clicks. Meanwhile, in the station's training area, Lieutenant Bill from Earth's military liaison team was conducting a friendly sparring match with some alien troops. He popped open his 3rd energy drink of the morning. Want some? He offered to his sparring partner, a 4-armed warrior from the galaxy's most elite fighting force. Is that the legendary human combat potion? The warrior asked, taking a cautious step back. This? Nah, just standard pre-workout fuel. Bill laughed, chugging the drink. Now shall we continue? The next 5 minutes became instant legend in the station's security footage. The caffeine-powered human moved with such speed and enthusiasm that his alien opponent formally requested to surrender, claiming he wasn't equipped to face a chemically enhanced super soldier. Back in the committee room, General Cax was showing more disturbing footage. This is from something humans call a college finals week. The video showed students surviving on nothing but energy drinks and coffee, staying awake for days while solving complex problems. Their young deliberately poison themselves to enhance their mental capabilities, an intelligence officer noted. Imagine what their trained operatives can do. The committee watched in horror as security footage from Earth showed humans in something called Monday morning meetings, consuming cup after cup of coffee while making strategic business decisions. How do we defend against a species that has mastered the military application of neurotoxins? Admiral Pike asked. They drink this stuff for pleasure. What do they drink when they're serious about combat? Just then, Lieutenant Bill walked past the committee room, now on his 4th energy drink. He was enthusiastically explaining human workout supplements to a terrified alien gym instructor. And this one has double caffeine, he said excitedly. Really gets you pumped for leg day. The committee watched him pass, their various appendages trembling. Update their threat assessment, General Cax ordered. Any species that drinks poison as a pre-workout beverage must be classified as extremely dangerous. An analyst raised a tentacle. Sir, we've discovered something even more disturbing. They have something called coffee ice cream. They've turned their chemical weapon into a frozen dessert. General Cax's tentacles went completely pale. These humans, they're not just resistant to toxins. They're finding new ways to enjoy them. We must revise all our defense strategies. As the committee frantically updated their military protocols, Lieutenant Bill finished his energy drink and crushed the can with his bare hands. Time for my afternoon coffee, he announced cheerfully to no one in particular. 3 junior officers nearby immediately activated their personal shield generators. The Galactic Defense Council would spend the next month rewriting their entire combat manual. The first new rule: never engage a human before they've had their morning coffee. The second rule: never engage a human after they've had their morning coffee either. Sometimes, the only winning move was not to play. The shadowy figure moved quietly through the station's lower levels, clutching a small package wrapped in stealth shielding. The dealer looked nervously over all 3 shoulders before entering the secret meeting spot, a forgotten maintenance bay in Sector 17. Inside, 5 different alien species waited, their various appendages twitching with anticipation. Their leader, a wealthy merchant named Krill, stepped forward. You have the goods, Krill whispered, his bioluminescent spots glowing dimly with excitement. The dealer carefully unwrapped the package, revealing several small bags of dark brown beans. "Pure Colombian coffee beans," he whispered. "Straight from Earth. Finest quality. Not the watered-down stuff they serve in the diplomatic sector." Up in his office, Ambassador Walker stared at the security reports on his desk with growing concern. Despite all regulations, an underground market for authentic Earth stimulants had exploded across the station. Coffee had become the most expensive contraband in the galaxy, selling for more than precious gems. "Sir," Jack entered the office, looking worried. 3 more aliens were admitted to Medical Bay this morning. Apparently, they tried to brew coffee using fusion reactor heat. Walker rubbed his temples. "What's the street value now?" "One Earth coffee bean is trading for the equivalent of a small spaceship," Jack reported. "The dealers are cutting it with ground-up space rocks to make it last longer. It's getting dangerous." In the maintenance bay, Krill and his group were examining the coffee beans with scanning devices. "Remember," the dealer warned, "this is pure stuff. You need to dilute it at least 1,000 times for safe consumption. And whatever you do, don't try something called espresso. We lost 3 good customers that way." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the sector. "Security alert. Unauthorized coffee TT kitid." Officer Reed's voice boomed over the speakers. "Drop the beans and put your appendages where we can see them. This is a Grade A contraband bust." Chaos erupted. One alien tried to swallow their entire stash and immediately began glowing like a supernova. Another attempted to stuff coffee beans into their dimensional storage pouch, only to have them spill everywhere. The smell of premium coffee filled the air. "My retirement fund," Krill wailed as security officers in hazmat suits confiscated his precious beans. In the medical bay, Dr. Green dealt with the aftermath. "4th case this week," she sighed, treating an alien who had tried to smuggle coffee pods in their secondary stomach. They never learn. Ambassador Walker was called to an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council's Commerce Committee. "This situation is out of control," the head counselor declared. "Coffee is now worth more per gram than antimatter. We've had 3 attempted hijackings of Earth cargo ships this month alone. We found a group trying to build an illegal coffee plantation in an asteroid," another counselor added. "They were using stolen Earth soil and everything." Walker tried to maintain his diplomatic composure, though he desperately needed his afternoon coffee. "Perhaps we could consider a regulated trading system." "Regulated trading," the counselor scoffed. "Half the galaxy's criminals are now coffee cartels. There's a black market coffee shop in every sector." Just then, Jack rushed in with more news. "Sir, they just caught someone trying to sell instant coffee crystals as powdered enlightenment to a group of space monks." The council chambers erupted in chaos as everyone talked at once. In the confusion, Walker noticed several council members discreetly sipping from containers that smelled suspiciously like lats. Later that day, a new sign appeared in the diplomatic coffee shop: "Maximum fine and 10 years in space jail for unauthorized coffee distribution." Below it, someone had scrawled, "Worth it." Walker sat in his office, enjoying his perfectly legal cup of coffee, watching the security feeds of yet another contraband coffee bust. "You know," he said to Jack, "maybe we should have started with decaf." Jack nodded, taking a sip from his own cup. "Too late now, sir. Too late now." The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Station buzzed with tension. Ambassador Lord Zix of the Quantum Confederation, one of the most powerful alien species in the galaxy, stood at the podium, his energy form flickering with smug confidence. "Humans," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber, "are nothing but addicts. They are chemically dependent on their precious caffeine. Without it, they are weak." Ambassador Walker sat calmly in the Earth section, sipping his afternoon coffee. The past 2 months of coffee-related chaos had led to this moment. A formal challenge from one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. "We demand a demonstration," Lord Zix continued. 1 month. No coffee. no caffeine. Let's see how these mighty humans function without their chemical crutch. The assembly hall erupted in excited chatter. Dr. Green, who had become something of an expert on human caffeine consumption, looked worried. Ambassador Walker, she whispered, is this even possible? Walker stood up, straightened his jacket, and addressed the assembly. We accept your challenge, Lord Zix. The human delegation will abstain from all caffeine for 1 month. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Even Lord Zix's energy form flickered in surprise. He hadn't expected them to agree. The next morning, the entire station watched as the human delegation surrendered their coffee makers, energy drinks, and even their emergency caffeine rations. Security Officer Reed personally sealed them in a high-security vault. Day 1 was rough. The humans were grumpy and moved slower than usual. Lord Zix's supporters watched eagerly, expecting them to collapse. Day 3 brought headaches and yawning. The humans were irritable, but still performing their duties. Just wait, Lord Zix told his followers. They'll break soon. By day 7, something unexpected happened. The humans adapted. They were sleeping better, drinking more water, and while they missed coffee, they were clearly functional. Impossible, Lord Zix declared, watching Walker calmly conduct a trade negotiation without a single drop of caffeine. They must be cheating. Dr. Green's scans confirmed no caffeine in their systems. Fascinating, she noted in her research log. Humans don't need the stimulant to function. They just really enjoy it. The military committee was particularly interested. General Cax ordered new studies. If they're this resilient without their combat stimulants, imagine their true potential. By day 20, Lord Zix was losing credibility. The humans were tired of his random inspections for hidden coffee stashes. Walker caught him scanning the human quarters recycling for coffee grounds 3 times. You don't understand, Lord Zix ranted to the council. Their entire civilization runs on this substance. They should be falling apart. Actually, Walker explained patiently, we just really like coffee. There's a difference between enjoyment and dependence, Lord Zix. Humans can adapt to almost anything. We just prefer not to give up things we enjoy. On day 30, the final day of the challenge, Lord Zix's energy form had dulled to a depressed gray. The humans had proved him wrong, maintaining their diplomatic duties and even learning to enjoy herbal tea. As Walker reclaimed his coffee maker from the vault, Lord Zix approached him. How? He asked simply. How did you do it? Walker smiled. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our resistance to caffeine, Lord Zix. It's our ability to adapt. We can survive without coffee. We just don't want to. To prove his point, Walker invited Lord Zix to watch as he brewed his first post-challenge cup of coffee. The human delegation gathered around, eagerly awaiting their favorite drink. You mean, Lord Zix's energy form pulsed with realization. You endured withdrawal and headaches, adapted to life without your favorite substance, proved you don't need it, and you're going to start drinking it again anyway. Of course, Walker said, inhaling the aroma of fresh coffee. Just because we can live without something doesn't mean we should. That's another very human trait. The council updated their species assessment again. Humans, capable of surviving without coffee. But why make them grumpy about it? 6 months after the Great Coffee Challenge, the Galactic Central Station had developed a unique way of handling their human residents. Signs throughout the station now read, Warning, Human Zone ahead. Caffeine present. Ambassador Walker sat in the newly designated human sector, a specially constructed area of the station with reinforced containment fields and excellent ventilation systems. The coffee shop, now officially named Humanity's Wake-Up Call, had become the heart of human operations. The new protocols are finally complete, Officer Reed announced, entering the coffee shop through a decontamination chamber. He placed a thick document on Walker's table, careful to avoid the coffee rings. The official galactic guidelines for human caffeine consumption, Walker read from the cover. Only took them half a year to write it. The document was comprehensive. Every space station and diplomatic outpost in the galaxy now required a designated human zone. Special air filters prevented coffee aromatics from reaching sensitive alien species. Warning signs in every known language marked areas where humans might be consuming caffeine. Dr. Green had become the galaxy's leading expert in human-alien relations, giving regular lectures titled Living with Coffee-Drinking Neighbors, a guide to interspecies harmony. The most fascinating part, she told her audiences, is that humans have turned their resistance to this toxin into a cultural cornerstone. They don't just drink coffee. They socialize around it, celebrate with it, and use it to mark important moments in their day. In the station's military wing, General Cax had created a new classification for human troops: naturally chemically enhanced warriors. The sight of human soldiers doing morning exercises while drinking coffee still made other species nervous, but they were learning to cope. The humans have taught us something valuable, General Cax admitted during a security briefing. Sometimes, what appears to be a weakness can become a strength. Though I still don't understand why they call it a coffee break when it clearly makes them more active. The black market for coffee had finally been brought under control through a regulated trading system. Licensed dealers could now sell properly diluted coffee products to approved alien species. The medical bay kept antidotes ready, just in case. Even Lord Zix had come around. He could occasionally be seen in the human sector, sipping a heavily diluted coffee-flavored beverage, 1 part coffee to 10,000 parts water, the maximum concentration approved for his species. "I still think you're all insane," he told Walker, "but I'm beginning to understand the appeal." Walker looked around his coffee shop at the strange new normal they had created. Humans sat chatting over their espressos while aliens observed from safe distances through protective screens, taking notes on human behavior. Some braver aliens wore special protective suits to join their human friends for coffee time. "You know," Jack said, bringing Walker his afternoon refill, "I never thought our first major contribution to galactic society would be coffee." "Actually," Dr. Green interjected, reviewing her latest research, "your coffee culture has taught us more about humanity than any official first contact protocol. Your willingness to try potentially deadly substances, adapt to them, and then turn them into social rituals. It's uniquely human." The station's new tourist brochures now featured a special section, Human Watch, best spots to safely observe coffee consumption in progress. The observation deck above the coffee shop had become the station's most popular attraction. As Walker finished his coffee, a group of alien diplomats cautiously approached his table. "Ambassador," their spokesperson said nervously, "we've been studying human customs, and we understand that important negotiations often happen over this coffee. Would you be willing to teach us your ways?" Walker smiled and gestured to the empty seats. "Welcome to Coffee Diplomacy 101, he said, signaling Jack for another round. Lesson 1. Never trust anyone who says they don't need a coffee break. As the aliens settled in for their first coffee ceremony, wearing appropriate protective gear, of course, Walker couldn't help but feel proud. Humanity had arrived in the galactic community by accidentally terrifying everyone with their morning brew, but they had stayed because of something far more important: their ability to turn any situation, even their bizarre tolerance for toxins, into an opportunity for connection. After all, that's what coffee was really about: bringing people together, 1 cup of deadly neurotoxin at a time.